YouTube, what is going on? Crowder here, and if you guys are new to the channel or don't know who I am, I'm an ex-world champion Call of Duty player, now the head coach of Atlanta FaZe. I play a lot of Warzone. I've qualified for the World Series of Warzone, and I'm here to give you the best console settings on PlayStation and Xbox, because you guys know I don't just play on PC, I also play on console to make sure that I can obviously give you guys the best of the best tips for both platforms. So let's get into it, starting with some controller settings. I'm going to help you with your movement, smoothing that out, and of course we'll go through every single setting that you need to know, including some dashboard settings to make your game run smooth. Let's go. All right, so guys, I'm on my PlayStation 5 right now, and basically the in-game settings for PlayStation and Xbox, I'm going to keep it on the PlayStation 5 because they're very, very similar. But when it comes to the dashboard settings, of course, I will give you the PS5 dashboard settings that I recommend for you guys. And of course, I'll go over to the Xbox One as well at the end of the video, which is also going to be very important for you. So let's start off with the controller settings, and let's kind of smooth out this movement for you. So go over to controller, and you're going to see here that, of course, edit button layout. It says default, but I'm going to be playing on tactical. I like drop shotting and sliding and all that stuff with my right stick. And then my right button on my controller, or your circle button, is going to be your melee. So that's kind of how I've been playing right now. I don't think I'm going to change that anytime soon, but a lot of that is going to be personal preference. So as you scroll down here, you see the horizontal stick sensitivity is going to be 7, and the vertical stick sensitivity is also going to be 7. Now, you can play on sensitivities where you have your horizontal a little bit higher than your vertical to kind of just keep it, you know, when you're going left and right and you're swiping left and right, people like to do that. I was personally kind of getting used to 9-7 towards the end of the Black Ops 6 run, but I ended up going back to 7-7 when I've been playing a lot more Warzone as it's released a couple days ago. And the reason why is just I feel like you lose a lot of aim assist in this game with smokes and some head glitches, and just the way people are moving right now, you kind of have to be pretty accurate. God forbid you do lose that aim assist. And with that knowledge, I'm going to be playing on 7-7 kind of just for the future. I think you can get away with anything from 6-6 to about 8-8, or again, if you want to play on something higher, I would recommend a lower ADS sensitivity multiplier, and we will get there in a second as we scroll down. So right now we're on 7-7, and then everything else is going to be normal. I do not play flipped with a PS5 controller. I think it is a lot easier to use the triggers to shoot and aim in than it is on a PS4 controller, which I would actually play flipped if I was using a PS4 controller and we were playing on PlayStation 4. So as we keep going down here, the big important thing that you guys need to know, and listen up, especially in Warzone, guys, especially in Warzone, the movement is going to be the #1 thing that you really want to focus on, and having the wrong dead zones is actually going to hurt you a lot more than you think. It's not going to hurt your aim assist, but it can only help your smooth movement and of course your aiming and tracking and recoil control and so on and so forth. As we go through this, I'm going to explain this as I do in every single settings video, but just in case there are newcomers, you're going to see your left stick minimum and your maximum. Basically what that means is this. So if you go to the default, which it usually is 10, you're going to see that there is going to be a little circle around the L on this screen right here that pops up. All that means is if I click test dead zones right now and I were to go push forward, I have to get past that red circle for the controller to actually start responding. So the higher the dead zone that you have on your minimum, the longer it's going to take for your controller to respond, which means you're going to have more of a delay when you are obviously playing with this controller. So you want to have this as low as possible, but not too low to the point where you have stick drift. So personally, my controller on console, it usually kind of works around 2, anywhere from 0 to 2. Left stick, I've been pretty good at just at 2, but anything from 0 to 5 is kind of the sweet spot of what you want all of your controllers to play on. If you have higher minimums than 5 or 6, that's kind of where you're starting to work with a broken controller, / you're playing or you're choosing to play with a delay, and that is going to kind of hurt obviously your smooth movement and your aiming and all that. So I have my left stick minimum on console at 2, and then my left stick maximum, I have it at 75. If you don't know what a left stick maximum is, it's going to be very similar to the minimum, but you're going to see if I turn this all the way up to the default, which is going to be 99, you're going to see that red ring kind of expands. And what that means is when I push my left stick in and I go all the way to the edge, that is when I'm going to hit that maximum speed with my left stick. And if you lower that speed, you're able to actually hit that maximum speed a little bit faster. Now, that's very important with omni movement in this game, and especially Warzone, because you don't want to have that feeling of delayed or clunky or dead slides that you are getting right now if you don't have the right dead zones. And to have the smoothest movement, the left stick maximum is probably the most underrated dead zone and setting that I will show you in this video. And if you did not know that tip, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because I promise you guys all year I'm going to be your go-to guy for settings, tips and tricks on how to win, and everything else that you need to know about Call of Duty. So going back to what I was just saying, you go all the way back here to like around the 75 max here, and if you click test stick dead zone, instead of having to take the left stick all the way to the edge of the controller to get max, now you only have to go 75, and it's going to be a lot faster. Even though it doesn't seem like much, Call of Duty is a game of milliseconds, and with how fast you are moving and reacting and hitting that slide button when you're trying to go forward and slide in a panic position, that can make all the difference. And now what I would recommend this, as I said, 0 to 5 on the minimum. When it comes to the maximum, if you go too low, it's going to kind of freak your controller out and just kind of get a little bit weird. At least for me, that's kind of how I felt. When I've gone lower than anything than 65, it just doesn't feel good. It kind of just feels like it's making movements on its own sometimes, and it just feels very wonky and clunky for me. I like to go to around 65 and then work my way up if it doesn't feel good until you can get around that 75 area or 80. If you could stay at 65 and it feels good, keep it there. And if you want to try it lower, you can absolutely try it lower too. But try and get to the lowest left stick maximum that you can, that is under 99, because every single millisecond counts when it comes to the controller responding to what you want to do and obviously getting that full speed for that tactical sprint. So left stick maximum on console, I like 75. You can do lower or higher. And then for the right stick minimum and maximum, it's going to be the same exact thing that I just explained. You are going to have the right stick minimum be a little bit more important in different ways, where your right stick is going to be your recoil control, your tracking, and your centering, and you want it to be very responsive, but you don't want to be too responsive with your right stick or have right stick drift most of the time. Some people are a little insane and they do like stick drift on their right stick, and it activates the aim assist. I personally don't love that. A lot of professional players that are playing in the professional Call of Duty League usually play on around 3, which is going to be right here. They do play on PC though. This is a console video where, depending on the controller and what you want for the feeling of it, you can play anywhere from 0 again to 5 is a pretty good sweet spot that I would recommend for you guys. So anywhere that you can get into that sweet spot is what you want to do to make sure you have the most responsive controller that you have. And then scrolling to the right stick maximum, I would not recommend testing this out because this is going to mess up with your aim and everything else with the maximum of how I explained to the left stick. You don't really want that on the right stick at all. And then your L2 and R2 dead zones, you're going to want to keep these as low as possible, because obviously you want to be aiming in as fast as possible and also shooting and reacting and everything too. So make sure those are as low as you can go, and of course mine are set to 0. All right, now that we got our basic controller settings done, we're going to move over to the aiming section, and this is also of course important, where if you go to your sensitivity multiplier, we talked about this a little bit earlier when we were saying that we play on 7.7. If you go down to your ADS sensitivity multiplier, this is going to be probably the most important one in this entire list of sensitivity multipliers that you can see. And the reason why is, if you're playing on 7.7 or 6.6, or maybe you want to play on 10.10 or 10.7, the way this works is your ADS sensitivity multiplier multiplied by whatever you're playing on. So a good example is if you're playing on 10 and your multiplier is 0.5, you do 10 times 0.5, you're going to have a 5 sensitivity while you're aimed down sight. So if you want to feel a little bit more of that lock-on feeling, you can definitely lower the ADS sensitivity multiplier to help you kind of just feel a little bit more slowed down and precise when you're aiming down sight. Now in Warzone, I do think that is something that's a little bit more beneficial than it is in you know, your traditional multiplayers and all that. I still play on 7.7.1, but again, I actually kind of just love the middle ground of 7.7, being able to keep up in those close quarter slides and all the omni movement and everything going on. But if you don't feel as precise as you want to feel, try lowering it to like 0.9 or 0.8 with your sensitivity, and it might feel a little bit better, and that can help your aim quite a bit. And then as we scroll down here, you're going to go to aiming advanced settings, and you're going to open this up. Make sure your ADS sensitivity transition timing is on instant, and then aim response curve type. I've been going back and forth every day on this response curve type. Most professional players are still playing dynamic. Now, a lot of people are making the push for linear, and you can see right here on the screen, it kind of explains what it is just for a basic explanation. Dynamic is ideal for more experienced players. Faster starting movement that slows down to your aiming rate. So basically, you'll be starting off fast and then slowing down to your aim rate. A lot of people really like that in Call of Duty with aim assist. It makes you feel very snappy, and then you're able to lock onto your target, and that's why most people play on that. Now, a lot of people haven't really liked linear in Call of Duty before. I have used it in the past Call of Duties to test it out. I haven't played bad with it. I don't think it is bad. People are making a much more of a push for it, especially on console. And it says ideal for players who have mastered the tweaking of aiming settings. The aiming stick maps directly to the aiming rate. So basically, whatever sensitivity in your aiming rate that you're playing on, you are going to be pretty consistent with that. So I would say a lot of that's personal preference. A lot of the professional players like feeling snappy, and I still think that is the most advantageous for you. But with linear as well, it also kind of helps your movement and just kind of the rate of the stick being really responsive feels good too. I have not had too many issues playing on linear. I've also had not too many issues playing on dynamic. So again, I'm going to leave this to you guys as preference. I would not play on standard because I think starting from slow and then speeding up, I don't know why that would be ideal for new players. I actually feel like that's kind of trolly and it's just going to mess them up and kind of going too fast and that. So I don't really recommend that, but you can still kind of get away. So that is the response curve type just explained. Probably recommend trying dynamic and then linear if you're feeling good with it and see what you like more. And that's really it for the advanced settings. And as you scroll down, you want your target assist and ADS aim assist. You want that to be on. And then none of the motion sensor advanced settings because that is off. Now scrolling over to the movement, this is going to be also a very important setting that we need to talk about when it comes to console and when it comes to Warzone and Black Ops 6 integration. Now on Black Ops 6 towards the end, I turned off sprint assist backwards, and a lot of you guys might have done the same because in the Omni movement of multiplayer, those backward slides and those backward dives weren't really feeling too good, especially if you were playing slower game modes like Search and Destroy. But in Warzone, I've noticed that when you don't have the sprint assist backward on, the sprint assist sideways also kind of gets affected. Is that when I want to use my left stick to get that sideways slide, right? If I push my left stick here, I'm going to get that sprint assist sideways, and then I'm going to be able to actually tactical slide and, you know, slide cancel or dive that direction. But if I were to start my stick and go down to the left, which is under that 50% mark, and it's kind of a little bit towards the backwards, but definitely more towards the sideways sprint, it's actually not going to always activate, and it's going to feel very, very clunky. And in Warzone, with how fast-paced it is and how much you're going to have to slide and you take a lot more damage, you're going to need that backward slide a lot more than you would need it in multiplayer, in my opinion. And it's going to be a lot more of a react, oh, I can backward slide and do some crazy movement and kill the guy. And I would think that this is probably the most important movement setting that you can kind of mess with for Warzone specifically, because it's just going to be something that you're going to really need to use. And it's going to feel really clunky if you don't have that backwards assist on. Just from my experience right now playing a lot of Black Ops 6, I did not have it on when I started, and it felt clunky. And when I turned on the backwards assist, I felt way smoother in the sideways slides and the backwards slides and everything that I was doing. And then my sprint assist delay, I do have at 0. You can turn this to 2 if you really want to. I personally think the more I experiment with it, I'm not having any issues at all having it at 2 or 0. I don't really think there's that much of a difference. So I have it at 0 right now, and then of course both of these checked off as on. And then to continue, I have my mantle assist off, crouch assist off, corner slicing off. Slide the dive behavior. If you do not like hybrid or you just hate diving in general, you do not care about doing the dive parachute or any of that, then I recommend playing on slide only, because if you were playing on tap to slide or tap to dive, you will have a delay on your movement, and that is just going to feel terrible. So if you go into movement behaviors right now and you see yourself on tap to slide or tap to dive, you are playing at a delay in your movement and you are trolling yourself. Either play on hybrid so you can have no delay between the dive or the slide, or play on slide only. I think more experienced players should absolutely be using that dive and the dive parachute and all that stuff in Warzone. It's going to save your life a lot more than you think. But if you can't get used to it, you play on slide only. And then to continue down the movement section, you just see sprint restore and slide maintain sprint we have on. Parachute, this is going to be the default as free fall. I think you should have this off. And the reason why is you want to get as close to a building as possible and then be able to pull your parachute and get into the action as fast as you can. So make sure you have parachute automatic behavior off. And then for mantle cancels reload, I actually have this on right now. It's defaulted to on. I haven't had any issues with the mantle cancels reload right there. And then movement advanced settings, going through this, you want to make sure that tactical sprint activation is also on single tap to run. Even though you have tactical sprint assist and you're probably not going to use this single tap too much, every once in a while when your tactical sprint inevitably bugs, in order to get your sprint going again, instead of using the double tap method, which you have to click your left stick in twice, which can just be really annoying, you can just click it in once and it'll just be a lot smoother. So that's just something small. And then the vehicle behaviors, I have not changed anything there. And then scrolling over to combat, this is the last and final section for controller settings. We're going to scroll through this, and it's going to be, you know, pretty normal stuff. And we're going to keep scrolling through the combat advanced settings. Right here is where there's going to be the next important setting that you need to change. Sprint cancels reload. You want that to be off. Right now, if you are sprinting and reloading, you will not be able to do either at the same time, and it feels really clunky because in other war zones that was not a thing, and you were able to reload and sprint at the same time. I don't know why that's even a thing. Again, I feel like they're kind of going backwards with some of these changes, but this is not the proper video to do so. And then your interact reload behavior, make sure you have it at prioritize interact. That's going to do it for the controller settings. Now let's move over to the graphic settings on PlayStation. You're going to have your 120 hertz refresh rate on. You're going to make sure that is on because you want to be playing at the highest refresh rate rate that you can on console that it allows. My eco mode is set to efficiency. I have motion blurs as off, depth of field off. The fidelity cast I'm going to have on at 90. And then I'm going to have my on-demand texture streaming at minimal. Then scrolling over to view, you're going to have the motion reduction preset I have as off. And then field of view right now, I am still on 105. Now, I don't think I'm going to play too much more Black Ops 6 multiplayer on console. I'm probably going to end up really doing the iridescent rank stuff and multiplayer on my PC. So realistically, I would probably be playing at 110 if it's a Warzone only kind of thing and you're not playing multiplayer. Anywhere from 110 to 120, you're going to get the least amount of visual recoil, and it's going to feel better for Warzone because Warzone is a bigger map and there's just going to be a lot to look at, and you want to be able to see your opponents where they're coming from and rotating. And also, you're going to have a lot of long range fights that are just going to be needed to be taken with less visual recoil. So I think 110 is the sweet spot. If you really cracked out, you could play on 120. It's a lot of personal preference when it comes to field of view. But the higher you go, the least amount of visual recoil you will have. But at the same time, you will also be making your targets smaller and harder to see. So whatever is the balance for you, try it out. I recommend 110 as the sweet spot. And then if you keep scrolling, your field of view is going to be affected. You should not be playing on independent. That is going to add more visual recoil and kind of hurt your aim. And then if you see down here, first person camera movement, least, that's going to be very helpful to make sure that your camera is not shaking and moving. And I don't even know why this is a thing. Another setting that should just be defaulted to least at 50, but for some reason it's defaulted at 100. All right, so now we're on to the audio, which is the most important topic for a lot of you guys. PC players are having a pretty rough time too. The audio in Black Ops 6 and Warzone has already been tweeted about that they're investigating it. It is actually probably the worst audio I have ever played right now with a video game in Warzone. Hopefully they fix it pretty well on the first time they go for it. But I did try the enhanced headphone mode on. I went to the app. I spent even $20. I didn't even do the free trial because I'm stupid. And I really just wanted to see what this enhanced headphone mode is. And as of now, they have not updated their audio. I think this is the biggest waste of money ever, and I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. It was pretty cool to have some directional audio, but it just didn't feel great. And now I don't know if that's because the audio in the game itself is just terrible right now, or this mode is an actual scam. When they update the audio, I will revisit this, and of course when season 2 comes out or another settings video comes out, or if it's really important, I will make another video on it. But right now, I am a Call of Duty creator telling you not to spend the $20 on this enhanced headphone mode yet, especially the personalized immersive experience. I think the whole scanning your ears thing is just dumb. And then in the audio mix, I have Sucker Punch as what I'm going to be using. Now, the one disclaimer I will say, if you are using enhanced headphone mode and you have this on, then what I would recommend doing is use the headphone bass boost to kind of pair it up with the enhanced headphone mode. That's kind of how I've made it sound the best. But again, I really did not like it even on Sucker Punch or any of that. So yeah, we have that off, and then I play on Sucker Punch right now with the tightest dynamic range for the sounding and all of that. The audio is just in a bad spot, and then everything else you don't really need to worry about. And then going over to the interface, we're going to run through this pretty quickly. Server latency and packet loss are pretty important. And then go into color customization. We're going to have the colors that you can use right now. My enemies are pink, my team and party are green, just to kind of have them stand out a little bit more than the red or blue. That's all going to be preference there, but what I really need you guys to do is go to color filter, make sure it's color filter 2, make sure you have color filter target at both, and the world color intensity and the interface color intensity at 100 to make the game a little bit more vibrant, because Call of Duty kind of needs some more vibrancy with this game right now. And then safe area, you're going to bring the HUD as close to you as possible, and the reason you are going to do this is because your minimap is the most important thing ever, and meaning it gives you information of where the enemies are, rotations, circles, contracts, where your teammates are, where they're looking at, and everything you need to know is on your minimap. And when you are focused on the center of your screen, you want to be able to get your information from the minimap and then come back down to the center of the screen as fast as possible. And Call of Duty, as I said earlier, game of milliseconds, that can help you a lot, so make sure that you bring that all the way in. Minimap shape is going to be square because it's going to make the minimap a little bit bigger and give you more information. Minimap rotation on, make sure your radar is off. This ruins your minimap. And then going all the way down here to crosshair, you can have center dot or you can have static. Those were the two I would recommend. And then you're going to have your crosshair color available to whatever color that you want to make it, which I think is also pretty underrated in Warzone and Call of Duty this year. It's just something small, but these small changes are actually just Pretty dope. So you could choose in a custom color, kind of mess with however you want it. I have mine as either blue or bright blue most of the time. Some people I've seen kind of go pink or red, or you can just keep it at default at white, and that is going to be basically it. So that is going to be your in-game settings for your consoles. Now I'm going to show you some dashboard settings for both, and then you guys are going to be on your way to be playing Call of Duty Warzone 4 Black Ops 6 integration. I don't know what we call it anymore. And enjoying yourselves. Let's go. And now that we are at the PS5 dashboard, you're going to go over to your settings. You're going to go to screen and video, and you're going to go over here. And some of this stuff is going to be important to make sure you guys have this checked out so you are ready to go. We're going to be starting here with the resolution and frequencies here. I play on 1440p with my monitor. Your VRR, if this is something that your TV supports, you should have this on. If it doesn't, and your monitor and basically what I'm playing on doesn't, and I don't really need that for what I'm doing right now, you can have it off. But if this does turn on, you should absolutely make sure you have your VRR on, and it's going to be the same thing for your 120 hertz output. You want to make sure this is on and obviously automatic. And then your auto low latency mode, make sure if your TV supports this to try and have this on as well. It is going to help you out so much while you are gaming. And then after you're going to back out of that, you're going to scroll down to saved data and game app settings. You're going to go down to game presets, and you're going to make sure your performance mode or resolution mode is at performance mode. Make sure it is not on anything other than that, and that will help you out when it comes to running the game and make sure it feels as good as possible while you are on your PlayStation 5. Now, that's going to be everything for PlayStation. Let's go over to Xbox real quick, give you some dashboard tips, and then you guys can be on your way to be playing Black Ops 6 Warzone. And finally, we are at the Xbox dashboard right here. You're going to go to your settings. You're going to go to TV and display. Make sure your resolution is obviously whatever you were playing at, depending whether or not you were playing at 1440p, 1080, or 4K. And of course, again, if you are having any issues with some of the, refresh rates or obviously 4K, make sure you're using an HDMI 2.1 cable. I promise you, so many people make the mistake of not having that. And then, of course, you want to make sure your refresh rate is at 120 hertz because that is what you want to be playing at, the highest amount of hertz that your console can go for. And then going over to video modes, you click this. You want to make sure you have your allow auto low latency mode on if you can obviously do that with your TV. And then the variable refresh rate on. And then if you were playing in 4K, make sure allow 4K. You obviously have that checked off as well. But that's going to be it for your dashboard settings on both consoles and all the settings that you need to know for Black Ops 6 Warzone. And hopefully this video helped you out. If you guys did, like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff, I appreciate you guys so much. And I'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace.